Woman confuses me for employee, gets locked out of the store leaving her groceries behind, by user Tactical Pixie 1864. So last night I'm finishing up my shift as an EMT and it's been a long and tiring one. The calls weren't bad, but there were a lot of them and we were all over the damn county. Shift is over, I change back into my comfy clothes, sweats, t-shirt, hoodie, and I head to the store to get something for dinner. I get there just in time since they're closing in 10 minutes. I assure the cashier that I was just grabbing something quick and I go and pick up a lasagna from the frozen section. I grab them and turn to head to the checkout when I hear a hem. Not a throat-clearing sound, but someone saying it like they were reading it out loud. Turn and look to see a woman and she snaps off I need you to go in the back and get me a pack of the frozen pretzels. I say that I don't work here and point out where an employee just went behind an end cap. Woman snaps, you do work here and you need to stop being lazy and get me my pretzels. I again say I don't work here and turn to walk to the self-check. She flips her shit and storms off muttering about lazy employees and managers. I finish checking out and I'm grabbing my stuff and leaving when I see her again with her cart and a manager and she yells, there she is. That's the lazy bitch, and starts towards me. I'm not even going to engage and so I hold up my receipt and my one item to the self-check girl and walk out. I hear the manager raising his voice and saying, ma'am? Ma'am, ma'am. Turns out she left her cart behind and stormed out of the store to confront me. I get in my car to drive off but she's standing in front of it so I can't go anywhere. She's also giving me a tongue lashing that I'm too checked out to really pay attention to. Great, I'm already on my last nerve and this woman is hate fucking it. Manager sticks his head out of the door and hollers, ma'am. She turns and makes a hushing motion towards him. He hollers, ma'am, one more time and she hollers back saying, I'm dealing with your employee since you're too much of a little bitch to do it yourself. He bristles and says, madam. She cuts him off with, shut the fuck up, screeched at the top of her lungs. He shrugs and I watch him go back inside, fiddle with the locks, flip the sign to closed and pull down the shades. As I'm watching this she gets annoyed that I'm not paying her my full attention and she yells, what the hell are you looking that's so damned important to ignore me? I just pointed at the shop and say they just closed and locked the doors. I'm not sure what she screamed since it was pretty incoherent but she did run towards the door. Seeing my chance, I drove off leaving her pounding on the door and cursing. No, I don't know where Pepper is, by user Hey Neos. I'm a woman and I went to a slightly high-end strip club with two of my male friends. I'm wearing an admittedly sexy black dress and sitting at a table with the fellas, watching the dancers and having some drinks. A security guy comes up to me and says, hey, what's your name again? I tell him on instinct, and he says, cool, do you know where Pepper is? Realizing that he's mistaken me for a dancer, they sometimes sit and socialize with guests to try to sell private dances, and not wanting to embarrass him, I just say no, I don't, sorry. He was very sweet and I hope he didn't feel silly when / if he realized I'm just a customer. Got mistaken for a barista / bartender at a spot near my work because of my tattoos lol, by username Liv. There's a coffee / cocktail bar down the street from my work called Halcyon. It's a neat place, they serve coffee, cocktails, food, and everyone from students to travelers to even lawyers go there to hang out. It has excellent Wi-Fi and many people there are on their laptops. It has a bar area, a patio, many benches and lounge couches, and even 2 egg-shaped swing chairs by the front. Anyway, everyone that works there is tatted, pierced, or alt in some way and there isn't really a set uniform, it seems like some wear the Halcyon shirts at whim. I'm walking around minding my business and a middle-aged man holding a tray asks, do you bus the tables or where do I put this? I just decided to do the staff a solid and pointed him in the right direction where everyone leaves their used glassware / trays. Thought that was the end of that interaction but apparently not, as he's leaving he says, oh, and the kolsch was excellent by the way. Like I made it myself or something. I was just like, thank you, loudly crying face. Bumper cars, by user Peaceful 2. Picking up a few items at what must be the worst run everything store I've ever seen, I was in the produce section, heading for the coffee. There was a man in a disability scooter surrounded by carts that had been shoved every which way. He was wearing a vet's cap with the name of a ship. It was obvious he couldn't just jump up and move them and he was starting to get that look, you know the one, let me become invisible. I made my way over and asked when the place had turned into bumper cars. I didn't take long to put them in a line out of his way. I said it looked like he was a vet, he was. I said, happy to have met you, sir. Salute. He laughed, looked a lot happier. 2 aisles later, he was waiting behind a blue monstrosity. I laughed and said I needed bigger equipment for this one. He said no worries, someone would be along in a minute, and they were. We met up once more at checkout, waving and smiling. No tips for being a cart handler, but his smile was priceless. That was some years ago, and I'm now in the scooter. I can walk a bit but not far, I could move a cart if I have to. I have a better appreciation for his dilemma, and his smile stayed with me a long time. What can I say? I love being helpful. By user Meadledon 1973. I, 49F, am a crafter. So is one of my best friends, Anne, 51F. A few months ago I reintroduced Anne to crochet. Since then we have been frequent shoppers, spenders, at the JoJo store in town. It seems like every time we are browsing the yarns and deciding what brand, size, and color to purchase for an upcoming project and, for her, tutorial, we get interrupted by someone asking me questions about yarns, crochet hooks or knitting needles. What's the difference between this yarn and that yarn? Do you have this brand yarn? Is this color? What yarn would work best for this pattern? Y'all don't have the yarn suggested by this pattern. Can you help me find a substitute? Where can I find this item? Or my favorite, my daughter is wanting to learn how to knit. What supplies will she need? My answer is always, well, I don't work here, but since I practically live here I'm happy to help. Then I do just that. The only thing I can't help with is looking for something in the store's back stock. Anne thinks it's hilarious and either pays attention to the knowledge shared or just goes about her browsing. She knows eventually I'll get back to her. Usually the other customers and I have lengthy conversations about knitting or crochet and they thank me. I have yet to encounter a Karen, I deal with enough of those when I am at work. I'm sure one day that will change, but for now I'm having a lot of fun turning an hour shopping trip into an afternoon at the craft store.